If you've just finished writing your nonfiction manuscript, it's a memoir or a biography or a creative nonfiction narrative of some kind, you probably think that you need to get your manuscript developmentally edited before you can start submitting it to publishers. If you want to get published, you're probably thinking, okay, I've almost finished writing this draft. Who can I get to look at this draft and give me an editorial critique or a developmental edit in order to get published? Well, you don't actually need to do that. I'm Louisa, and if you've never met me before, I'm an author. I've published 2 books of my own, traditionally published best-selling non-fiction books, both memoirs. And I did not get any of my manuscripts critiqued or developmentally edited before I submitted them to publishers. I'll tell you what you need to do instead. It is much simpler. What you need to do is learn how to revise and assess your manuscript structurally, pull together those missing pieces of the structure so that you can then have that clarity and accelerate forward. What I've done is put together an editing program called Manuscript Finishing School. Now, this isn't an editing program as in I'm going to teach you how to write better sentences and grammatically fix those sorts of things up. This is a program to take you through what a professional published author, traditionally published author does with a manuscript after finishing and leaving it for a couple of weeks in order to make it polished and ready for submission to a traditional publisher or an agent, okay? If you're planning on self-publishing, this is going to benefit you too, because you will learn how to actually revise your work to the standards of traditional publishing, which are very, very high. So you might not realize that most writers don't send their work off to a professional editor before they submit to a publisher or an agent. You actually need to learn how to do this stuff yourself if you want to be a professional author and a published author. And that's because what you learn through revising your own work objectively is actually going to make you a much better writer. And when you send something off for a developmental edit or a critique or feedback, that is really just one person's opinion, and it is not actually going to internally show you how to make these changes to your work and rewire and rescript and clarify the structure of the story. So what I have for you in Manuscript Finishing School is basically the pathway to a submission standard manuscript for a nonfiction that I have taken all of my manuscripts through before I submit them to a publisher or an agent or an editor. I teach you how to write your chapter outlines. This is absolutely key. Because again, that is going to help you very simply and clearly structure and restructure the manuscript. It is presented in an online platform through step-by-step video presentations and tutorials. There are downloadable exercises, checklists, even templates. I share my own examples of a professionally written synopsis, how I would take that through from a rough draft to a finished synopsis. And I take you through the checkpoints that these things need to go through. So I'll take you through the modules one by one, but overall, this program is for you if you're looking to revise your rough draft of a memoir or a creative nonfiction or a general nonfiction to a professional submittable standard that you will then get published, either traditionally or even self-published. If you can follow these standards that have worked in traditional publishing, you'll be much better off because it is a much higher competitive standard in traditional publishing than it is for self-publishing. It's also going to make you a better writer in the long term. You'll be able to use these techniques as you're revising and polishing your work. For years to come, you'll use these techniques looking at the story structure and the copy and the grammatical and the chapter and scenes of your book. You'll be able to use these on essays, articles that you have published, and future book manuscripts. So I'll take you through step by step what's included in this program, but I just want to give you an idea of who it's for and whether or not it's for you. In module 1, I'm going to show you how I zoom out and get that big picture grasp of what's going on in the plot of this story and assess it with the eyes, at the objective viewpoint of an editor. So zooming out and seeing what's all laid out there and what needs to be moved around and put together so that it flows much better. I'm also going to show you how to write your synopsis. This is super important because the synopsis is going to show you how to plot those chapter outlines, and you'll use it almost like a blueprint to guide you through simplifying, editing, and revising your text. The synopsis is really the overarching one-page promise of your memoir, and this is going to, having a really good synopsis, one that you can work with, it's not for anyone else's eyes at this moment if you're not sending it out on submission yet, is really your blueprint or your map to how the structure of your manuscript is going to flow. So I've got trainings on the synopsis in there, and I even give you my own examples and step-by-step template for how to write a really great synopsis for your memoir or creative nonfiction. You can use these tools for any type of nonfiction, but I personally have used them for literary memoir that has been traditionally published. In the second module, I'm going to take you through the hero's journey framework and how you can use that to assess the different, the 3-act story structure and those compelling beats of your manuscript. Again, seeing what needs to be taken out, what needs to be moved around, how the sequence is going to flow. The third module is where I teach you, it's probably the meatiest module in Manuscript Finishing School. I teach you how to revise from a chapter and scene level. Now, this takes you through how to write chapter outlines, and really good chapter outlines. Knowing how to write your chapter outlines is really what is going to give you clarity on the entire structure of the manuscript. I worked with an editor I worked with a writer one-on-one, and she said that as soon as she had her chapter outlines, she was good to go. So this module alone, revising from a chapter and scene level, is worth the entire program if you just did that one module. The fourth module is where I teach you how to analyze the narrator's character arc. Now, this is key if you have written a narrative nonfiction such as a memoir, because the most important character in this story is you, and you need to show that transformation from beginning to end. If you don't change from the first page to the end page in a really compelling and relatable way, your book will be ignored and it will end up on the slush pile. It's all about being relatable and compelling from start to finish as the narrator and the hero of this journey. The fifth section of this is really what you're going to learn how to be your own best editor. Now, I've paid for critiques and editorial reports on manuscripts. I've even written editorial reports for writers in the past. I don't recommend this, by the way. So instead, what I've done is create this module where I teach you how to write your own editorial report. Because if you can learn to be your own best reader, you will become a better writer. Your manuscript will benefit. In the sixth module, I take you through the final piece, which you probably won't need to do until you have structurally revised your manuscript in these other pieces, because it will be pointless to do this last piece until it's ready, until you're at that final stage ready for submission. And this is actually what most writers end up paying someone to do, and then they go and they change everything anyway, so it's pointless. And this is learning to revise the copy, and from that granular level, looking at grammatical errors, repetitions, and everything from that grammatical editing point of view. And I just give you lots and lots of shortcuts and tools and techniques from using Word, using the Word software to clean up the copy and any typos or grammatical errors in your manuscript. But you don't need to do that until you are ready to send that off on submission. So this course is for you if you have written a memoir manuscript, if you've almost finished one, if you are struggling with the structure, if you want to know how to get it over the line to submission ready. It's all there for you. It is a step-by-step self-paced program hosted on an online platform. All the details are below this video. If you would like to join, you get access to the entire course straight away, and it is really the process that I take a manuscript through to get it submission ready. And as a reminder, I have used this for both of my published memoirs, traditionally published, did not pay a developmental editor, do not need to. And it's going to be so much more empowering once you know how to do this for yourself. Okay, it's taken from my larger program, which is called The Art of Memoir, but I decided to offer it on its own because I know a lot of writers, even if you've written a non-fiction manuscript that's not a memoir, this will benefit you enormously. You'll be able to see how an editor approaches a book-length non-fiction and these different touch points that you need to go through before you send it off on submission. It'll teach you quite a bit about publishing too, from this perspective of looking at your manuscript as a professional editor would. So that's all that I need to share about my Manuscript Finishing School course, which is a revision and editing course for creative nonfiction writers. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Write a comment or send me an email if you're viewing this on the page.